Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice radio. So today, we need to look at a new GX. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Tornadus-GX. It's been revealed. We know what it looks like. We know where it comes from. And Pokebeach.com have an image. So let's have a look-see, shall we? Now, it is a colourless Pokemon, and colourless Pokemon are very disappointing because you don't get any extra tricks with colourless Pokemon. It's a little bit sad, right? You get double colourless energy, but you don't get anything like water Pokemon get Brooklet Hill, for instance, or fighting Pokemon get strong energy, Boo, Hiss, etc. And it also means you're not hitting anything for weakness, which is in and of itself a little bit sad. But the good news is, when it comes to weakness and resistance, you're doing okay here. You got a weakness to lightning, but really, what lightning stuff is seeing play at the moment? Raichu GX occasionally? Lightning is a spectacular weakness to have at the moment, because there's just no good ones around. It's a typing that's seeing almost no play. I mean, Vikavolt, Tapu Bulu, but even Vikavolt, Tapu Bulu is really a grass deck with Vikavolt for energy acceleration, though they do play the non-GX Tapu Koko. Then, of course, you have a resistance to fighting, being a flying Pokemon, and now we are rocking and rolling, because now we've got a resistance to Buzzwole that is the best Pokemon in the game. At least at the moment. Now, we'd like to have 190 HP, but 180 HP is about right. That is about standard for a basic GX, although there are a bunch like Ultra Necrozma that do have 190. The thing here is, take something like a Buzzwole, well, it does 160. Then it whacks a Choice Band on and it does 190, but resistance comes in and goes down to 170 and you don't get KO'd. Buzzwole's not actually getting a KO here until it's got free energy on, and a Choice Band, and there's a Diancie Prism Star on the bench, so as far as I'm concerned, right, this gives you a pretty good level of survivability against something like a Buzzwole GX. And if you're on the bench and they try and hit you a Jet Punch, they do 10 damage. That's not particularly exciting. Now, the first attack here, we don't need a translation, of course. We've got English scans. Yay! Doesn't happen very much, so I need to savor it when it does. Although, I'd already done 2 videos for the day. Did we need the new GXs to be revealed tonight? Could the pictures not have leaked tomorrow morning? Just putting that out there. So anyway, double colourless energy, 50 damage. And this is so close to being amazing. Because 60 damage would be absolutely brilliant. 60 damage would mean a KO on all these 60 HP basics like Zorua and Ralts and all of that, which is important. And then, of course, we've got Inkay. Inkay very important here because Malamar is rocking the format at the moment and is becoming, along with Buzzwole, the best card in the format. And annoyingly here, you got 60 HP. Now, the good news is there is a brief period of time before rotation where we have Fighting Fury Belt. And I'm actually a really big fan of Fighting Fury Belt with this particular Pokemon. Because you whack it on there, you do 60 damage for a double colourless energy, and you go up to 220 HP with a resistance to fighting, so a Buzzwole with free energy on, and a Diancie Prism Star, and a Choice Band would generally be doing 210, and that actually wouldn't even get the KO, bearing in mind if you didn't have resistance. With resistance, they could have a strong energy and a Diancie Prism Star and a Choice Band, and they'd still be doing 230. Reduced to 210 with resistance, you'd have 220 with Fighting Fury Belt. With Fighting Fury Belt, I really like this first attack. Because what you do is you just sit there picking off easy little prizes. It's such a good little amount that it's even worth using something like a Pokemon Catcher here. And I know it takes a coin flip, but you can just be picking off little Pokemon. Let's say you're against something like a Necrozma Malamar deck. Well, you just sit there and just pick off Inkay all day long, hopefully using Pokemon Catcher when you can't get them in the active. And there's a whole bunch of Malamar decks that aren't playing stuff like Beast Ring and aren't playing stuff like Lunala Prism Star. Just so we're clear, I massively disagree with not playing those cards, but a lot of decks don't. Which means that if you can just sit there picking off Inkay with Tornadus, you are going to have a real nice early game. It's a good attack. And of course it becomes incredibly reminiscent of the good Tornadus-GX, which for a double colourless energy, as long as there was a stadium in play, did 60 damage and was used for the exact same thing. You sit there, you pick off little Pokemon in the early game. It's really, really handy. It's a very effective strategy. Now that's just in the early game. What about as we go on a little bit? Well, for free colourless energy, 90 damage. Flip a coin until you get tails. This attack does 30 more damage for each heads. Now at this stage I need to give my customary reminder that Victini from Guardians Rising is a thing, which just allows you to reflip these coins if it's not going in the way that you might like. So you flip a tails, well, you just reflip. You flip one head, but you really need to, you just reflip. But here we come back to the 180 HP versus 190 HP again. Let's say that you can flip 2 heads here. Well, then you're up to 150. With a choice band, you're up to 180. And then there's all kinds of stuff like Necrozma that is going down, but Ultra Necrozma and Buzzwole in that situation are not going down because they've got the magic 190 HP rather than the slightly more pleasant 180 HP. And that's the big difference between 180 and 190. There's so many times you can take a hit with 190 that you couldn't take with 180. And once again here, there's a card that's being rotated out that I really like with this attack. And it's Max Elixir. Max Elixir, it attaches energy to basics. Look at the top 6 cards of your deck. If you find a basic energy, you may attach it to a bench basic Pokemon. With that and a double colourless energy, all of a sudden this is a turn 1 attack going second. Or a turn 2 if you go first. And now you're doing minimum 90 damage, but with a head you hit 120. And again, I've spoken time and time again about the difference between having 120 HP and having 130. Something like a Volcanion or a Registeel would be able to take this hit, but the myriad of 120 HP Pokemon out there would not be able to take this hit. Or maybe you even flip 2, 3, 4 heads in a row. Again, it's not that likely, but let's say your opponent ends a turn with a Tapu Lele in the active. You hit a Max Elixir, double colourless, and then double heads with a choice band, and you're hitting 180 and getting a turn 1 KO on a Tapu Lele for 2 prizes. Okay, that's quite a lot to ask for. I understand that, but it's possible. And worst case scenario, you just do 90 damage. Or you can't get this and you do 60 damage with a Fury Bout or whatever. This is a decent, aggressive turn 1 option, and I like that a lot. Just like the first attack is really good for picking off little 60 HP basics with fighting Fury Bout, the second attack is really good for putting early pressure on, though you will have to use Max Elixir to do so. And then we get to the GX attack here. Free colourless energy, so the same cost as the main attack, 130 damage, discard all energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. Now this I like very much indeed, but only because of the effect. 130 for free energy, not a fan. I don't think that's good enough as a GX attack. Even when you consider it's all colourless energy, I still don't think it's good enough. But the thing that really jumps to mind here is something like a Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh comes out, your opponent goes first. What are they going to do turn 1? They are going to use Kiawe to get the energy on there. If you could pull off a turn 1 destructive Cyclone using double colourless energy and Max Elixir, not only did you do 130 minimum, putting that Ho-Oh down to, well, 60 HP remaining, but you also get rid of all that energy they just Kiawa'd on, and their supporter for the turn, which was also kind of their attack given that it's Kiawe, and it ends their turn, has all been for naught. This is one of those GX attacks, and weirdly the one that comes to mind is another one that does 130. It's Greninja. Greninja's GX attack to me is fairly uninspiring. 130 to one of your opponent's Pokemon. I'm not particularly excited by that. It's not an attack that floats me boat. However, I've played a lot of games with Greninja, and the fact of the matter is, I've actually ended up using this GX attack in all of those games, because at some point, I'm sitting there going, oh, it would be great to do 130 to the bench right now. Oh, wait, I totally can. And that's where Tornadus comes in. There are going to be games where your opponent's got a 4 energy Ho-Oh, or they've got a Gardevoir with a whole bunch of energy popped onto it. And what you can do here is come in with this, hit for 130, and get rid of all of that energy, and then just be like, ha, checkmate, buddy, what yo gonna do about it? And the answer is, they're going to be a little bit upset, and then they're going to have to redo whatever they did to get all the energy on there in the first place, while you sit there doing extra damage. It's not a one-hit KO GX attack, and it's not a great GX attack, but it's a GX attack that will be very, very useful in a bunch of games. The real downside of Tornadus is the first attack is really good with Fighting Fury Bout. The other attacks are really good with Max Elixir, so you can drop them as more of a surprise. And those cards are being rotated around about the time this comes out. Now, this is coming out on July the 6th, which means it will be legal for tournament play on the 3rd Friday in July, which is, of course, the 20th. So that does give you about 6 weeks before the rotation hits to play this with those cards. In that situation, I'm giving it 4 Wassies, because I really do think that that first attack with the early pressure and the fact that you can get the other attacks going super quick could make it a really good tech in a number of decks. After rotation, I'm giving it 3 Wassies, and that feels generous, because what's really good about it, you're losing. So there we have it. Now, of course, it is the customary time in the video where I'd like to hear what you think about Tornadus-GX. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel and get some bonus pods, I think you should, but I'm a little bit biased, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do just that. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.